Tennessee's Wild Side is a presentation of the Jackson Foundation.
There seems to be two types of people when it comes to the 4th of July. Those who know exactly what they want to do to celebrate, and others who are looking around for an adventure. Well, Tennessee State Parks caters to both. Friends and family frequently flock annually to an event in some of the parks, but other people may go there for the first time hoping to find something to do. Well, we found an amazing historic canoe trip. And because other people decided to go swimming or fishing, we get to take you on an exclusive trip on the Duck River in Manchester. A family fishing enjoys their experience on water's edge at the end of a boat ramp. It's the adventure they've chosen for their 4th of July outing here at Old Stonefort State Park.
We do a range of programs just depending on what's going on in the weekend. Get people to come out to the park and enjoy some of the beauty we have here. And also just on a hot day like today, people coming out to just enjoy the river to cool off.
Up top of the ramp, Nina Sherman gets basic safety and paddling instruction in preparation for canoeing.
So if you need to turn, you're going to go on the opposite side of the way that you want to go. Thankfully, we've not had anybody fall out of our canoes. We go through a whole safety briefing too before we ever get in the water to make sure, one, people know how to properly paddle, kind of how canoeing is a team effort. Whenever you're in a canoe with somebody, it takes both people to paddle in a particular way to get where you need to go.
I've never been in a canoe, I've never been in a kayak. I've only been on the water like twice in my life, so yeah, this was a first for me going in a canoe today on the 4th of July.
It's an Independence Day adventure available to anybody, although more people today apparently decided to be in the water rather than on the water. But the canoe trip is a special event for Nina, since it's led by her newlywed husband, Park Ranger Indiana Calloway. And yes, he was named after Indiana Jones.
I think he is an amazing person. I think he's super intelligent, so I love to learn all that I can. Whenever we go on hikes, I have him like quiz me on like the trees and the flowers and the birds and things like that, because I just love learning from him.
Teamed with seasonal interpretive ranger Jeffrey Pendergrass, Indiana leads us into the channel.
We've straightened out now.
Today we were taking a trip on the Duck River. We will be traveling up and kind of exploring what we see here in the river. Hopefully we'll see some animals along the way to be able to talk about those. And we are talking about the park today as well, just the history of it and what we can find here. This river has been drawing people to the area for over 2,000 years, with Native Americans coming here and building the mounds here surrounded by the river on a peninsula. People coming here to build their mills, such as the 2 paper mills we have here.
Even the names of the river and surrounding community can be traced back for centuries.
Whenever early Europeans first came to this region and talked to the native people who were here at the time, they had already been calling it the Duck River in their own native language. And so they just adopted that as well. So it's very possible that the Duck River has been known as the Duck River for thousands of years already. So we've kind of just continued that with its current name.
The mills here would have used the power of the river, using a water wheel to power their mills. And so that's why a lot of the mills are found here in the area. Also how Manchester kind of got its name. Got its name from Manchester, England, which is a big industrial powerhouse. And so when people were building the mills here, they thought that Manchester, Tennessee would become that big too. So that's where Manchester gets its name from.
So the Duck River has been the source of survival and commerce for all people who've lived around it. And life beneath the water is also thriving.
Oh, there's something right there.
Oh yeah, I've already seen a bunch of fish in the water. So the Duck River actually has over 130 different species of fish in it alone, not counting all of our other odds and ends animals, including 60 species of freshwater mussel, and all kinds of different macroinvertebrates that make their homes in the water. The Duck River is also, as Jeffrey mentioned earlier, one of the most biodiverse rivers in the world, and actually the most biodiverse in North America.
There is one particular species of wildlife in these waters that is unusually plentiful. The explanation of its abundance sounds a lot like folklore, but there's evidence
that it's true.
Now there is a fun story about a dam that used to previously be on the river here, like about where we are, but actually I think going to pass some of the remains of it here soon. Many, many decades ago, before we were a park even, there was that small dam that formed kind of like a lake on a man's private property. And he really did not like the fact that people would go swimming in that private lake of his. So he decided the best course of action would be to release water moccasins into that water. And so now we have the furthest eastern population of water moccasins or cottonmouths in the state of Tennessee. So if you look at our range map, there will be a little dot right here in Manchester.
While the water moccasins remain well hidden, there is spectacular scenery all along the waterway. A blue heron is among a variety of birds that makes quick appearances.
Looks like an eastern kingbird right there.
Oh yeah!
Yep, eastern kingbird. There you go.
Because he has such a vast knowledge for nature.
One thing that I actually personally witnessed here very recently was the return of the American mink, a pretty endangered species there for quite a while. This is what Highway 41 used to be. So it's also known as Garrison Road. Part of one of our trails actually extends onto the road. So you're walking on that old early 1900s roadway. And alongside that, there's even an old broken down car that's still sitting there from like the 1950s, more than likely.
But as the canoes are steered back toward the starting point, it's clear that the ancient history of this river has made a powerful impact in the minds of both rangers.
I want to talk about, why we're in the canoes to begin with, and that's to really understand the experience of what it would have been like for people 2,000 years ago navigating this very vast area with little access to things like beasts of burden. You didn't have horses up until European colonization. So this was your main form of travel, especially for large amounts of goods.
It's a very surreal feeling. It's it kind of hits you. Like you'll just be paddling and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is something Native Americans also saw, 2,000 years ago. It would have looked a little different, but same waterway, it's flowing about the same, and it's just a kind of a glimpse into what life could have been like if we were around 2,000 years ago.
You're paddling on the opposite side you want the canoe to go.
You paddle in the opposite direction of where you want to go, right? Right? I did not do that most of the time. He kept tapping me on the back being like, other side, other side. So I obviously don't listen that well.
But despite any minor paddling discrepancies, this relaxing and educational 4th of July adventure ends safely.
I think this was a great way to spend the 4th of July. Both Indiana and I are more homebodies and quieter people, so like fireworks is a lot for me. I think this slow drifting along the river was a much better 4th of July for me personally.
Each park in the system has its own activities you can find online, and most of them are either free or incredibly inexpensive. Our 2-hour canoe trip included everything except drinking water and sunscreen for only $10. You can find other state park adventures on our website, wildsidetv.com.